Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. We're going to do a Week 17 recap on DraftKings. I'm going to take a look at how my Best Buys article did. Really, it's a weird week, Week 17, because of all the news and all the players that rest and everybody that you have to figure out and all this new information and players with contract incentives and players with no reason to play and teams that are locked into spots and teams that are locked out of spots and who's going to play and who's not. And if you know my content schedule of things that I put out, I come up with a list of players usually on Tuesday. I go through, I start researching everything. I come up with my list of players, my short list for players on Best Buys. And then I trim that down by Wednesday, and I write my article on Wednesday. It gets published Thursday morning. I send it end of day West Coast, so about 5 p.m. on Wednesdays. I email my article to ESPN, and the fine folks over there edit that up, post it on the website. It goes up early on Thursday mornings. And for most weeks, it's still extremely viable by the weekend. Week 17, the last couple of seasons, that's been really rough because of the way that Week 17 kind of rolls out. You find out that players are going to sit later in the week than before. There's a lot of question marks in the middle of the week. This year, however, Best Buys on Week 17 turned out to be just everything exploded. Everything just blew up. And I don't mean it blew up that we won all the money because all the players in Best Buys were useful. I had 2 players that did not play. There was another player that usually plays 80-90% of snaps that played 15 snaps only. The running backs all just went to nothing because, or at least the 2 that I had written up, because players that were out ended up playing and they became very big question marks. Other running backs opened up that I would have had in Best Buys. So hopefully you tuned into the Friday Q&A. You came over to Twitch for the Anti-Tinkercast. If you want the link to find me on Twitch, it's right down below in the description. Click Show More. All the links to all my other socials are there as well. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, all those sorts of things. Click the heart. Do something, right? Find a way to click something on some website. But while you're here, thank you guys for being here. This is going to be the final weekend recap of the season. So thank you for showing up all 17 weeks. Obviously, as I've said before, this is one of the lower viewed videos for NFL that I have because there's no pertinent information. There's no look forward. There's no show me what to do to make money next week. So this is just kind of the autopsy. Those of you who show up that really care about looking back and seeing where the mistakes are made, for me, it's also about transparency. I let you know my results. You see my lineup. I see where I made mistakes, where I got lucky, where I got unlucky. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring that notifications bell. And let's get over and take a look at Best Buys. Got to make this bigger so y'all can read it. So you can see what we're doing. There's the gang on focus. Started with Patrick Mahomes. Now, Patrick Mahomes, a lot of people were saying that they were concerned about game flow in this situation, that the Chiefs were going to be up by too many points, and therefore it wasn't going to be a good play because he wouldn't really have as much of a floor as he usually has. He did have one of his lower scoring games of the year at 18.3 DraftKings points, but the team did score a ton of points. However, they came from defensive touchdowns, which are extremely impossible to predict. It's not like they just deflated the ball and ran it out and did everything that they wanted to. They were still throwing it, and they were throwing it deep. As he did have 2 touchdowns, 281 yards, 14 completions only. A ridiculous yards per completion and a ridiculous yards per attempt at over 10 yards per attempt. He only threw 24 passes. But mostly that comes down to them scoring 2 defensive touchdowns. I think Mahomes was on pace for a big day. Unfortunately, we didn't get there with him. If you paid up for him, there were definitely guys who went off for cheaper, like Jameis Winston, who ended the day with around mid-30s, 35-ish fantasy points, 22 of 35, 345 yards, and 4 touchdowns for Jameis. Josh Allen also went off, not pictured here in Best Buys. Lamar Jackson, as somebody in chat pointed out earlier before we started recording, was this close to a ceiling game as he had 1 touchdown called back on the ground, had another one where he fumbled on the goal line, 14 of 24 for 179 yards and no touchdowns, to be expected from Lamar Jackson, but 20 rushes, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns, a force to be reckoned with, mid-20s points for only 5,600. Ben Roethlisberger was a bust, 14.8 DraftKings points, 287 yards, 1 touchdown, 31 of 45, though. Would have hoped for that sort of usage out of Pat Mahomes, but they didn't get there. Jalen Samuels, now this is one of the ones that changed. Assuming that James Conner is still out in Week 17 is how I started this blurb. Obviously, James Conner came back, which rendered Jalen Samuels completely off the board for me with other values at running back that were out there. I avoided him. He did still have 11.2 DraftKings points. Most of that came in the passing game. 7 catches on 8 targets for 40 yards, no touchdowns. Damian Williams, same sort of thing. Ridiculous usage, ridiculous efficiency. Then with Ware back, and they used somebody else in the running game as well, only got 11 carries, 51 yards, and a touchdown. 1 catch on 1 target for 8 yards, 11.8 points. Not good for him to reach value, but again, this is a player that we were not on come the weekend. Mostly him or Jalen Samuels, mostly because Todd Gurley went out, and that happened in the middle of our Friday show here on Twitch, which is the Lineup Builder show that also gets published on YouTube, one of the higher watched videos on YouTube. And all that money that you were going to spend on either of these guys went to CJA with Gurley out, as he went bonkers the week before and did it again this week. So hopefully you made that switch. Peyton Barber was kind of a bust, 7.8 DraftKings points, 15 carries, 66 yards, 1 catch for 1 target for 2 yards, 7.8 DraftKings points. Not good enough. Royce Freeman did just fine. And all those that were saying that Royce Freeman will not be utilized at all in the passing game, and he's just a just a goal line back and just a first 2 down back, 17 carries for 60 yards and no touchdown, but 8 catches on 10 targets for 43 yards, 18.3 DraftKings points for 3.5. Hopefully you went with Freeman over Barber if you were down there, or went with the New Orleans back who popped up as well late in the week with everybody that was going to sit. He topped 100 yards for 3K and was one of those other late week guys, an X factor on the Sunday morning show. Devontae Adams, we thought he would be chasing the passing, the receiving record. It turned that late in the week, it was like, well, he's way more injured than we thought. Then it turned into, well, if he does play, I think he's only going to be out there for his 2 catches. Maybe they'll run 2 wide receiver screens, catch it, get out of bounds, catch it, get out of bounds, so he doesn't get more hurt, and then walk him off the field. They completely sat him. Absolute DNP. You didn't play him. Robert Woods, this is a bust. Everybody else caught touchdowns. Cooks had 2. Reynolds had touchdowns. Robert Woods, 2 catches, 3 targets. Thank you for the tip there, Alienware. I appreciate that right in the middle of this video that you're telling me, hey, you can optimize your PC. I didn't need that right now. Robert Woods, 2 catches, 3 targets, 24 yards, 4.5 DraftKings points. This was a bust. I'll take the L on this one. Fine. I think it was the right play, but obviously it wasn't. The Rams scored 49 points. He did only get 3 targets. That was a big issue. Curtis Samuel got there, but in a weird way. Only had 4 targets, caught 2 of them, and one of them was a really long touchdown, 72 yards. He got there, got really lucky on this one. Antonio Brown, DNP. Isaiah McKenzie played 15 snaps, while Zay Jones played 58 and Robert Foster played 58. And Josh Allen went completely bonkers, and the Bills scored 42 points, and Isaiah McKenzie was absolutely nowhere to be found. Don't know if this was lingering from the past 2 weeks where he was carted off the field with head injuries, and maybe they said, let's just take it easy with him. It's week 17. We'll run these other cats out there and let them do their thing. Unfortunate there. I'll take the loss there. Obviously, it was a low ceiling play to begin with, and there were other wide receivers, sub 4K, that really popped up in that zone as well. Travis Kelce, because of the defensive touchdowns, he didn't quite get there in terms of his volume. We mentioned 24 pass attempts for Patrick Mahomes. 9 of those went to Travis Kelce. 5 of them were caught for 62 yards and 11.2 DraftKings points. Chris Herndon, I pivoted off of him late in the morning on Sunday because of the fact that the Patriots defenders came out and said he's the one that we're going to try and stop. And historically, Bill Belichick has tried to take an opponent's team's favorite toy away from them. I assume that would be Robbie Anderson based on his recent success, but what one of the DBs was saying, and reported by one of the beat writers that was down there, Mike Reese, really nice guy actually, beat writer Mike Reese, he had said that the defenders had told him that Herndon was the one that they were going to try and take away because he was essentially the safety blanket for Sam Darnold, and they really schemed to take him away, and you could see that in the way that the game played out. 3 targets, 1 catch, 8 yards. One of them was an end zone target. Would have helped out the cause, but obviously he was double covered on that play and couldn't come down with it. 1.8 DraftKings points, so a miss there. George Kittle was the big win on the day if you came down off of Travis Kelce, down to Kittle. As we had thought, the narrative street paid off. 9 catches, 14 targets, 149 yards, and a touchdown. breaks the record in style in terms of receiving yards for a tight end in a season. 32.9 DraftKings points. A lot of money swung on that really, really late touchdown. That's why you don't post screenshots until the games are over, gentlemen and ladies. Seahawks defense, 10 points. Chiefs defense, the best play of the day for 2,600 at 24 points. And the Giants D, if you punted like I did with the Giants D, it did not pan out. Let's take a look at how my lineup looked. And it's way different from Best Buys because of everything that we said. Dwayne Washington, 3K. 108 rushing yards after not really playing early as they played Mark Ingram early. 13.8 points for 3K is more than fine. Jamal Williams and Marquez Valdez-Scantling with Adams out, I think would have been fine if Aaron Rodgers didn't get a concussion and leave the game with 1.8 points in the first half, and then they had to deal with an offense guided by DeShone Kizer. But the Green Bay Packers did not look like a team that wanted to play in Week 17. Unfortunate. I probably went the wrong route here. Jamal Williams, I could have gotten up to, and very easily, gotten up to Saquon Barkley from Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams at 6K, Saquon Barkley at 82, by coming down from Robert Woods at 6,900 to Godwin at 4,300, which would allow me to pay up there. That swing right there from 9.5 points to over 50 points for the other duo would have been the way to go. I'm still okay with Juju Smith-Schuster over DeAndre Hopkins here, regardless of the result. Juju Smith-Schuster without Antonio Brown or with an active but hobbled Antonio Brown, to me, is a better spot than DeAndre Hopkins in terms of equity. Obviously, it didn't work out that way. Juju Smith-Schuster only with 14.7 points. Not a terrible day, but not the 27-ish points that D-Hop got without a touchdown. Robert Woods was the bust. Travis Kelce, paired with Mahomes, did not do as much as we wanted. C.J. Anderson was a smash as expected in that spot. Giants defense did not do well enough. So, obviously, that 3v3, because it would have been Chiefs defense, Robert Woods would have been Godwin, who had 2 touchdowns and 100 yards. Jamal Williams would have been Barkley. Really defined the day. Losing day for me on the main slate in terms of head-to-heads. I think I won like 20% of my head-to-heads on the day with 104. There were other people that had other busts as well. A lot of people beat me. Some people lost me. So not a great day for me in terms of head-to-heads. I hope that you guys did well. I noticed in my mentions on Twitter that a couple of people won really big this week that did have the right combinations and avoided the landmines. Too many injuries with Aaron Rodgers and Jeff Wilson and a couple of other players like Jamal Williams and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who would have done well if their quarterback didn't get injured along with them. But it is what it is. That's football, and hopefully you guys had a good season. Hopefully you guys had a great Week 17. But I'm on to the playoffs. We're going to come back with a first look. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Here's another video for you to watch, and I'll catch up to you guys later. Bye.